The courtroom was tense. All eyes were on the bench where Justice Amy Coney Barrett sat, her gaze sharp, her questions sharper. On the other side stood Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, young, bold, and unexpectedly calm. Everyone expected a clash. No one expected what came next. It started as a routine hearing on criminal justice reform. Justice Barrett, known for her strict constitutional lens, raised a pointed challenge to a new bill co-authored by Crockett, one that sought to expand rehabilitation programs for inmates, including those serving long-term sentences. Congresswoman Crockett, Barrett said, her tone cool but curious, how do you justify using taxpayer money to give second chances to those who, frankly, squandered their first? A murmur swept the gallery. Crockett didn't flinch. She straightened her back, looked Justice Barrett in the eye, and replied, because justice should be about restoration, not just punishment. Then, with a calm voice that softened the courtroom, Crockett began to tell a story. I met a man last year, James Tillman. Wrongfully convicted at 26, spent 18 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. He came out with nothing. No apology, no compensation. Just a hunger to help others not fall into the same trap. Barrett shifted slightly, intrigued. He now runs a program in Dallas teaching young boys coding and conflict resolution. That's what this bill supports. Second chances. Not just for the wrongly convicted, but for anyone willing to change. Barrett leaned back. The silence in the chamber was thick. It was then that something shifted in Barrett. She removed her glasses, paused, and spoke, this time, not as a justice, but as a mother. I have 7 children, she said quietly. And I've always taught them that redemption is real, but maybe, just maybe, I've forgotten how that applies beyond our dinner table. The courtroom was no longer a battlefield. It had become a place of reckoning. Justice Barrett turned to her clerks. I want the full report on Mr. Tillman's program, and I want to see data on recidivism rates in counties where similar rehabilitation programs exist. Then she turned back to Crockett, and what came next shocked everyone. Congresswoman, she said, perhaps it's time we write justice not just with rules, but with heart. The gallery erupted. Not with applause, but with a stillness so profound, it echoed louder than thunder. Weeks later, the bill passed with bipartisan support. Barrett invited Crockett to a law school panel where they discussed justice through different lenses, legal and human. What started as a courtroom challenge became a story of mutual respect, shared compassion, and unexpected alliance. In a world often divided by ideology, one thing brought 2 powerful women together, the belief that everyone deserves a second chance. Because true justice isn't about being right. It's about doing what's right. That powerful courtroom exchange between Justice Barrett and Congresswoman Crockett didn't just change the course of one bill, it sparked a national conversation. The media picked it up first. Headlines read, "When Justice Listened. Barrett and Crockett's unexpected moment of unity. From opposition to opportunity. A new era for criminal justice reform." But it wasn't the headlines that mattered. It was the people who started listening. Community reaction. Real people, real change. In Baltimore, a young woman named Layla watched the hearing replay from her phone on a city bus. She was a single mom whose brother had been incarcerated for minor offenses. Tears welled in her eyes as she whispered, "Finally, someone sees us." In a small town in Iowa, a retired corrections officer named Frank wrote his first letter to his congressman in decades. "I saw what that congresswoman said. She's right. I watched too many boys get locked up when they just needed someone to believe in them." From coast to coast, the moment rippled outwards. The ripple effect, unexpected allies. Justice Barrett, now reflecting deeply on the emotional moment, began inviting formerly incarcerated individuals to speak at university legal forums. Her clerks started researching trauma-informed sentencing practices. Meanwhile, Crockett was flooded with messages, not just from progressive supporters, but from conservative families who resonated with the idea that justice could be both fair and forgiving. Then came the biggest twist of all. Months after that day in court, Crockett received a letter from Barrett. Handwritten. Greater than, "I believe in the Constitution. I believe in accountability. But I also believe in grace. Would you consider co-authoring a national symposium with me, on the balance of law and mercy?" Crockett stared at the page. In her years as an attorney, then a congresswoman, she had faced many opponents. but none who were willing to grow in public view. She smiled and picked up the phone. Held at Georgetown University, the event drew a mixed crowd. Law students, judges, prison reform activists, formerly incarcerated leaders, and even skeptics. Barrett spoke first. "The law is a guidepost," she said. "But it cannot replace the soul of a nation. We need both justice and humanity to walk side by side." Crockett followed. "We're not here to erase accountability. We're here to build a justice system that reflects who we want to be, not just what we've always done." That day, bridges were built. After the event, Barrett received another letter. This time, from a mother whose son had just been accepted into a re-entry mentorship program. Greater than, "My boy was lost after prison. He thought the world had given up on him. Now, he's tutoring kids at the same school he dropped out of. Your voice helped make that possible. Thank you for listening." She read it twice, then quietly folded the paper and placed it in her Bible. In the end, this wasn't a story about two women arguing policy. It was a story about listening deeper. About confronting bias. About letting grace into spaces where only judgment had stood before. Justice Barrett and Congresswoman Crockett didn't just debate, they evolved together. And because they did, so did a system that was waiting, desperately, for compassion to walk in. Final line for narration. In a world divided by difference, sometimes the most powerful change begins when someone dares to listen. Would you like this edited into a YouTube video script format, or adapted for short film narration?